In this tutorial, we are creating a shoe photo composition. A preview of what it will hopefully look like is in front of us right now. I have already opened up our source files. Our source files are going to be found on the Turn-In folder. So you'll navigate to the Turn-In folder. Once you're there, you'll open Tutorials and find the folder that says Shoe Photo Comp. Once there, if you do not have your thumbnails view on, you will go up to your view and change it to thumbnails. Now that we have our source files, we're ready to actually start the tutorial. Come back over to Photoshop and create a new file that is 900 by 900 pixels. Once you have your blank canvas, you'll be putting your sky on the document. The way that I like to combine documents is to have my folder right here, go get the file that you want, and then you will click and drag onto Photoshop. Once you get a picture with the X, you will hit enter, and that will place your picture on the document. Now we're going to make the picture fill up your entire screen. On this one, it's not as important that we hold down Shift to make sure it doesn't get distorted, because you can't really tell the difference. So I'm going to make it fill up most of the screen, and then I'll hit enter. Next, we want to take it from this blue look to more of the greenish look that our example has. To do that, we will be using an adjustment layer. My adjustment layers are right over here. If you do not have something that looks like this, you will go to Windows and click on Adjustments. Now there are several different adjustment layers. We will be using the color balance, and that is the icon that looks like the little scales. So you'll click on that, and we will actually make 3 different color balances, but we're going to start with one that is highlights. Your values on your highlights will be -21, 4, -6. Once you have your values, you are going to do a clipping mask so that these only apply to your sky. So click on the clipping mask right there. Then go to your back arrow and create another color balanced layer. This one is going to be our midtones, which is already selected, and we will be -39, 16, -18. Again, a clipping mask and back. Color balance. And the last one is shadows. -21, 15, and 5. One more clipping mask, and we have our sky with a little bit more of a green tint to it. If it's not exactly the same color, it will be okay. Now, so that we don't have lots of layers, we want to merge what we just did. So make sure your first layer is highlighted, hold down your Shift key, and click on your cloudy sky. Right click and merge layers. You want to make sure that your clouds are separate from your background. Next, we will be inserting our grassy field into our document. Again, go to your folder with your source files, click on grassy fields, drag it over, hit enter to place. We're going to go ahead and bring it down to the bottom. Now what we want to do is take away the existing sky. There's several different ways to do it, but I'm going to show you a new way. You're going to come right down here to this button. This is a layer mask. Go ahead and click on that. Go to your brushes, get a nice fuzzy brush, and make sure it's on black. Now you're just going to erase the sky. As you're creating your layer mask, you'll want to adjust the opacity. Come up here to the top and bring the opacity down. That way there's a gradual fade into the new background. You'll also want to make your brush a little bit smaller. So just go through here and erase the existing background. The idea is to make it look like our sky that we've placed first is our actual sky. You don't really need to worry about this mountain right here because your shoe will be there, and you definitely don't want to take this sign away. So go ahead and make your brush quite a bit smaller here and try to get rid of everything but your sign. When you're done for your mask for the background, we're going to do 4 adjustment levels for this layer. Our first one is going to be a levels adjustment. So you should already have your adjustments open. Your levels are right here. It's actually the second one. So you're going to click on that, and your values for that will be 19, 1, and 236. Now we'll go back and do color adjustments. Again, I did forget to do a clipping mask, so go ahead and click on that level, do your clipping mask, and then go back to your color balance. And we'll start with highlights. That will be -16, -8, -26. Go back. Oops, forgot the clipping mask again. Go back. Color balance. Now we're on midtones. -22, 4, -4. Clipping mask. And one more. This one for shadows. -4, 26, and -25. Just like we did on the others, let's do our clipping mask. Just like we did on the sky, we're now going to merge these layers. So we have our top layer selected. Hold down the shift button and click down to the grassy field. Right click and merge layers. Now just to keep everything straight, let's go ahead and rename this. This is going to be the field. And I'm just double clicking on those, and this is the sky. That way we don't forget what's what. Next, we'll actually bring the boot into the picture. So we'll go back to our source files, and here is the picture with the boot. Click and drag and enter to place. Now, first we're going to erase a lot of the picture. So let's go right over here, right click, and rasterize the layer. Then how you erase is completely up to you. I'm going to come over here to my quick selection tool. Make sure it's on the plus, and I'm just going to get most of my picture with this. What you want to be careful is to make sure that you don't delete any of the actual boot. Right here, I've deleted part of the shoelace. Oh, we're keeping this one, by the way. I've deleted part of the shoelace, but that's okay because we don't want it to be there anyways. Make sure you get this shadow and not extra sole. So once you do that much, you can hit delete, and my boot's good. It looks like I forgot this part over here. So just select it and then hit delete. When you have your marching lines, you're going to Control D to deselect those. We're going to bring it over here. Oops, I forgot a line. Let's go get that. Now bring your boot over, and we're going to make it bigger. There we go. Now spend a little bit of time getting closer and touching this boot up to make sure that you erased all of the white background. It's really important to make sure that it looks like it belongs in there. Here I got a little bit of the sole, so I'm just going to blend that in by deleting a little bit. Right back here, you're probably not going to be able to tell, but I'm going to get that white off of there in the shoelace. Now you are ready to get this shoelace out. Our next step is to erase this shoelace that's hanging down and repair the sole of the shoe. If you notice in our original, that shoelace is going to get in the way of our window here, and we need to make sure it doesn't look like there's a lace hanging over. To do that, you're going to use the clone stamp tool. Now the clone stamp tool takes a little bit of patience, and you are going to need to go back and forth a little bit. The tool is right over here. It looks like an actual rubber stamp. It's underneath your brush tool. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to zoom in to get nice and close. What the clone stamp tool does is it samples from other areas of your picture. Sometimes you can have a nice large brush, other times you're going to need a fairly small brush. The first thing that we're going to do is fix the sole right here. In this area, I think we can do a pretty large brush, so I'm going to go ahead and make my brush pretty big. Then, to sample your picture, you hold down the Alt key. Once that happens, you get the little crosshair icon. I'm going to click because that is where I'm going to sample my picture from. And all that means is I'm going to copy that part of the picture. If you can see, it's now holding on to the sole of the boot. So I'm going to bring it over here, and you want to make sure and line it up, and I'm going to click a couple times, and it started to cover that up. Well, I'm going to make my my brush a little bit smaller. Alt again to sample. Come right over here, and I'm just going to click a couple times. Now I want to get this little indentation for the sole. So again, I'm going to Alt and come right over here. And so now we have a fixed sole. You're going to continue to do that all the way up. So I'm going to come right here and sample the area that I want to replace, and just keep resampling to save over. Up here where we get into the actual leather, I would suggest a much smaller brush. We're just going to keep clicking here, and every now and then just take a step back and see if it looks too obvious that you have completely copied another part. If it does, you can go back in and sample another area and just change up the pattern just a little bit. So go ahead and keep going up. This is going to take you quite a while to do, but go ahead and follow the shoelace up until you come to this eyelet, and this eyelet should look like there is nothing left there. I have went ahead and erased our shoelace. Now if you notice, this little area kind of bothers me a little bit, so what I'm going to do is come up to my opacity and bring that down and just go resample and try to make my colors a little bit less obvious where I've clone stamped, so it doesn't look like there's a shadow there. So right now all I'm doing is blending, and by taking the opacity down, you're just making the clone stamp a little less obvious than what it was. Okay, so it's not perfect, but it's good enough, and we'll start putting some other stuff in there, so it'll be pretty obvious that, or it won't be obvious at all, that there was a shoelace there. Now we're going to make another layer mask to mask off the top of this boot. So come down here to the bottom, select a layer mask. Again, make sure you're on your brush with a soft, round brush, and we are going to just delete the top. Okay, next we are going to adjust some levels on the boot. Go get my adjustments open again. The first adjustment that we're going to do is a levels adjustment. Again, that's this one right here. So we're going to do a level adjustment, and I'm going to go ahead and do the clipping mask so I don't forget. Our levels there will be 9, 0.95 and 2. Now we'll go back. That last one was supposed to be 244. There we go, that's better. Okay, now we'll go back and get a color adjustment. Again, we're going to do the clipping mask. We'll start with our highlights. Those will be -5, 6, and 2. Go back. We've done this a couple times, so I'm going to go a little quick. Midtones 16, 11, 16. Shadows -11, 1, and -9. Now that we have all of those, I'm going to go ahead and shift and select all of those layers and go ahead and merge those layers just to keep it a little bit tidier. Now we need to make the boot look like it belongs there a little bit better. To do that, we're going to create a shadow. So we'll come over here to the new layer, click for a new layer, and we want this to be underneath the boot. We're going to go to our paintbrush. We're still there. We need to make sure that it is on black. And we are just going to paint a little bit of a shadow. We do want a pretty low opacity. Let's go to 20 and start painting a little bit of a shadow here. To make this shadow look better, we're going to create another new layer, and on this one we are going to do the same thing but add it to the top of the layer to make it blend.